Okay, it's 6:40. Call to order the General Government Public Safety Committee meeting. Attendance has been taken. Any comments from citizens?
Linda Borman, 800 Jason Court. Are we allowed to use this room next door or not at this point?
Not at this point.
Well, the election notices came out and said that's where we're voting in April.
I'm going to have caution tape and cones up around the areas where we can't have people.
Okay, so they can use it then for the election. Just
We
wanted to
don't
make
have
sure
a better option in town anymore because we had a resident make a complaint to the election board about using the churches, so they won't use the churches. It's really the only public.
Yeah, that happened quite a ways back.
Is that the only voting location in town?
This one it is. I just was wondering where the status was because everybody keeps saying, no, we can't use it, we can't use it. And then all the election stuff came out and said that that's what we were using.
Yeah, hopefully here soon. Shouldn't say soon, but we've got our bid opening for the roof project Friday. So once we get that roof sealed up, we can then start getting that whipped back into shape.
Part of it's gonna be just getting the debris, the loose stuff off, where it's not a risk of it falling.
Is there a reason that we didn't use the general election?
So we don't pick the spot, the county does. So if they didn't reach out to them and ask, or they may have been told no, I don't know. But the other part is that the board's gonna have to decide if we want to open that up for rentals. Again, there's been a couple different times where it's been voted that be used for different purposes. So that'll be up for discussion again too.
No comments from citizens. Thank you. Moving on to the police department, activity reports in the packet.
One, Florida, this past month. We on getting some improvements done to the building. Had to get a couple bids on flooring. Hopefully that'll be done here pretty quick. Not really anything else I'm gonna do on the building at this point. But other than that, yeah. Things are just, weather's getting better, there's more movement. We're gonna get ready to move the speed sign off Lakeview and move it to a different spot. We got a couple complaints about no chance meeting again, but other than that.
Any applicants backfill?
Zero.
Had some complaints over the weekend from the apartment complex up on Columbia that some folks are taking their golf carts, running them through their parking lot, and they kind of across the grass to go over to Dollar General rather than taking it up to.
Instances where kids have been on those and we see the carts and made appropriate arrest.
Good.
One juvenile, one adult, so. You know, one of those things.
No, it's hard to keep up with that.
Well, and that's,
Golf cart too, $1
no, you can't get up on the 22 at all with a golf cart. So, go to park it, I guess, somewhere and walk, I guess, across the, right away.
If you talk to those people, you gotta have them give us a call because, we could go there and, it's in that house right there.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever, but,
Good, sir. Thank you.
Anything else for the police department? Move on to the fire department. Anything you want to find out?
Be more fire alarm calls this past month. Still waiting on a truck to get painted. We're making progress, it's ready. Things are just moving slow.
Any questions for the fire department? Nothing for other public safety, nothing for economic development. Park board, agenda and meeting minutes in the packet. Thing to discuss there. Projects that they're wanting to do in the packet. Okay, move on to the library board. Meeting minutes are in the packet. Any discussion? Nothing from the cemetery or tree board. Okay.
Think you have to get a sign a link from them?
Not yet. I apologize. That's on me. As soon as I read that, I was like, ah. So I have a note to start it this time so I don't miss it.
What is it?
Get a tree board meeting set up.
Yeah.
We've got one trees, they're
Mhm.
gonna on every paper, so, yeah.
Financial statements, anything to discuss there? No? Accounts payables over 1,250 is on page 91. Questions there? Seeing none, we got a couple of proclamations in here. Like their April proclamation.
There's a bunch of them coming.
The other general government.
So, I'd like to mention something that was discussed in planning and zoning. So we well, planning and zoning had a request to discuss, and it was brought in front of you all, I believe the last, Board of Aldermen meeting, about the requirement in, R1 under yard size, height requirements, and all of those. And basically, it states in there that when a 250 by 100 lot are owned by the same person, so two contiguous lots, and they've built a home on that common lot line, that it is now one lot. We do in 1961. That's when the zoning ordinance was passed, and that's when that change came into effect. That's when that was put in, and also that you have to build at a 60-foot lot line. So I've not yet been able to find. There's a report that's mentioned that the Planning and Zoning Commission turned into the board at that time that they reviewed before passing this ordinance, but I don't know where that report is. So we've got to do some digging and try to find that report. We have a developer who has made a request to have that ordinance removed, or I think at least looked at to where there can be exceptions where it makes sense. So he has made an application to I'm getting ahead of myself. Planning and Zoning basically made the decision that they were not going to recommend to the board to remove that ordinance, that it could possibly affect homeowners in that area negatively by dropping home values in areas where it doesn't make sense, but that they would be open to it if it does make sense, that, the city administrator would have the authority to make decisions based on that. The way our ordinance is worded does not give me permission to do that. So basically, this developer has made a application to the Board of Adjustments, but I am not sure that they have the authority to grant that permission either. So I'll be talking to the city attorney to see exactly, what the Board of Adjustment ability is going to be to due to that. And then I would like to request that we put this on the agenda for the Board of Aldermen meeting, to discuss this further and give anyone the opportunity to talk, who wants to talk in favor of or against.
Gonna be honest, I would favor rolling it back. Favor rolling it back because, it's very expensive to build houses and, it's not a lot of time to build. Yeah.
We do have several neighborhoods here in town where they've built a home on the common lot line. So these neighborhoods have bigger lots with bigger homes. And we're concerned that if that were to be taken down and then you've got two small homes, it's going to bring down the home value in that neighborhood. And it's not going to add to the aesthetics of that neighborhood either. It's going to look quite a bit different.
The end point to a lot where it was a house that was built on the common lot, the two lots, and after they developers took down the house, they put up two houses there. They're very nice. It doesn't detract from at some point. I understand that there is always going to be a NIMBY push against. Well, we want to make sure that nothing's going to affect. We have made it. So come out and say it. We have made it harder and harder and harder and more expensive to build houses. There's a reason people can build a house in Houston less than a third of the cost that they can build in LA. It's not the supplies, it's meeting the zoning. Houston has very little in the way of zoning. LA is zoned out for a while. At some point, we need to take a step back from what has become zoning ordinance creep over the years, where our zoning ordinances have become more and more restrictive, and say, is this really for the good of the community? Is this for the good of people who just want to be able to get a place to live forward? And start easing back from some of the more restrictive measures we take.
Well, this has been in place since when?
1961.
Yeah, so it stood the test of time to this point and hasn't become more restrictive in any way, shape, or form. And the biggest cost a person has in their life, other than their children and getting them raised to 18, hopefully, and functional, is their home, their residential home. There's R2, there's R3 for those people that need homes and other things. I think Centralia, I don't care what the country's doing. I do care what we do in Centralia. We want to be equally as fair as possible to most people. But I don't believe we need to kowtow to people that are at a point that they're not at a point to be able to go. Our labor rates have went through the roof. Keep pace with a lot of these costs that have gone up. Okay, so if you're in an industry and you're considered to be a senior person in that industry, you can go get money somewhere else. I mean, they'll pay you. I mean, big money for it now. So I think things have risen appropriately with that, and I think that we should absolutely look at anything and everything. But I think that R1 is something that's got to be very carefully protected without being unreasonable. You know, if that makes sense. That's my thought. But and I agree. There's places we try to put businesses, locations and stuff, and it's crazy trying to do that. And it's different, but it's R3, it's R2, it's industrial, and there's a lot of places that have went overboard with trying to really restrict exactly what they want to make it unavailable for others.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of areas where ordinances are overboard. I would think if our R1 is standard 60 by 100, if that's the standard, and this would make 50 by 100, that would be,
So,
that would be
yeah, so, the lot area for R1 is 7,000 square feet. Is what our regs are currently. These lots dating back to the 1960s, so a lot of the older lots were platted smaller, you know, obviously.
that would make them what,
So 5,000 square foot lots is what we allow. Yeah.
significantly small.
So,
I know people who are interested in smaller lots that are easier to take care of, especially if they're retirement age and things like that. And But that's not necessarily next to your 3,000 square foot homes or something. There may be a place for it.
Yeah, and I think maybe,
But I'm not a fan of spot zoning either. I want to be real cautious with that, so.
I think if we looked at moving forward with this, we would definitely need to make some criteria that it meets to be able to do that, not just, on our discrepancy, but it's got to meet this checklist for it to be able to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it in cobblestone and say, oh yeah, we can dump it. But there may be a place that it would make sense.
It sounds almost like it would be a modified R1 zone, like 1A or something like that.
Well, there's kind of been some talk about that. I mean, kind of depending on where it would be at, right? But
That would be, and then would be reasonable.
tiny homes, that kind of things.
And for the neighbor.
Right,
It would
yeah.
be reasonable looking at what you're zoning some areas into. Neighbor. But a lot would be what is needed.
Maybe, I mean, I would be opposed to that. So I don't want to change the blanket on one. I wouldn't want to do that. I'm not saying that. I think definitely.
Okay, we'll get it on the agenda for next month or for meeting next week and.
I think something we should think about as we do this, we should think about what are the options to create an environment for those flex type homes. Realistically, right? I mean, as we go forward, how do we start to progressively think about that demographic of people that are young, retired, maybe, right?
But early in or running out of it.
Right, but, and so, I mean, I think there's definitely a need for that housing and,
I think about the houses that were built, what is it? No, Singleton tracks, that little dead end street just south of the tracks.
No,
Not south of the tracks, little dead end street that.
East of the tracks.
Yes.
Yeah.
on the left, right before you go over the tracks,
And
this, yeah,
Oh,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
Little houses.
yeah.
They're a comfortable place to live, either home work. And it doesn't have a lot of lots there.
Well, and there was a time period in there where they were allowing them to do that.
Well, the city made a mistake in
Oh, I
not
understand
upholding the ordinance, and that doesn't mean it's okay and it's okay to go on the door. And we have people that have developed in town that have taken advantage of that. And when I say that, I want to say it the right way. Been allowed to do it, and so then they feel the ability to not buyer beware, but buyer buy and expect to be able to continue to, first not to hold the ordinance. I think that's part of the problems we've had.
I mean, if the approval, it would be to do a proper survey of one zoning and determine what areas would be appropriate for an A rezoning that would allow for a smaller size.
But it's in areas where we know we need to make sure the home values for the larger homes. Anything else? Any guys may around? Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
The second adjourn, all in favor? Opposed?